Hey y'all, it's Colson from Hodl Economics, and one of the biggest topics for debate right now in the space is Bitcoin in the election year. We have two presidential candidates, one that seems to be very pro-crypto and one that hasn't really spoken on it at all and doesn't really seem to have good economic policy. We're going over Bitcoin during the election years in the past, as well as these two presidential candidates and their economic policies, my own personal opinions, and who I think is the better Bitcoin candidate. Not financial advice, do your own research. Let's get into the video. First things first, before we take a look at anything directly political and economically related with Bitcoin's price, let's look at historically how Bitcoin has done in the election/halving years. As we can see here per this chart from Crypto Gods, following the presidential election, Bitcoin's price goes up massively. This is when kind of the real gains are realized right here. Or not realized, but you see the real gains right here. In the months leading up to the presidential election, price action is typically pretty stagnant, pretty slow. This year has actually been the most exciting as we had this big jump up early in the year from the Bitcoin ETFs and all that excitement. But the months leading up to the election is typically pretty slow. You see a little bit of an uptrend in October, as people like to call it online. September is typically pretty bearish, but things pick up in October before we hit the U.S. election, and that's when things go parabolic. Things really, Bitcoin in particular, really starts to jump up massively. Taking a look at this chart with a little bit more detail, just kind of see the wicks and everything related to these years. These red zones are bottom of the bear into the U.S. presidential election marked by these blue lines. This is just kind of showing you the same thing, but with a little bit more detail. Following the U.S. presidential election, that is when Bitcoin's price really makes these massive jumps. And so that's what a lot of people are expecting this year. If you're looking at percentages, as you can see here, we got 2016, 2020, 2024, marked by these black boxes. And the latter months of the year is really when Bitcoin performs exceptionally well, especially in these election and halving years, as you can see here. Now that we've taken a look at Bitcoin and its past performances during the election year and following the actual election, let's take a look at our two presidential candidates. We have Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Now, Trump is very pro-business, he is a capitalist, and Kamala is a lifelong politician. Only one of them has spoken on Bitcoin, and that is Donald Trump. As we can see here from this clip from the Bitcoin conference, he wants the U.S. to be the Bitcoin capital of the world. He wants all of the Bitcoin to be mined here in America. However he plans to get that done, who knows, but here's the clip right now.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way. And that's what's going to happen.
Now, since he gave that speech, we haven't heard too much from Donald Trump on his perspective on Bitcoin and how he actually plans to implement it. But Kamala has not spoken on Bitcoin at all, so we will take what we can get. And for that reason alone, a lot of people are saying Donald Trump is the Bitcoin candidate because he is the only person that has spoken on it in any sort of terms, and he was actually at the Bitcoin 2024 conference. Now that we've looked at that, let's look at Donald Trump's economic policies to start and what that might mean for markets and Bitcoin as a whole. As you can see here, this is the Trump-Vance campaign website, and listed below are President Trump's 20 core promises. What really stands out to me here is number 3, end inflation. Very bullish for markets. The markets would love this. Increase the value of the dollar, increase spending power for the value of the dollar, which would be very good for the average American household, which would strengthen the baseline for the American economy. By stopping outsourcing, we can invest more in our own domestic companies and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Markets would love this. Stocks would boom, especially manufacturing stocks would boom, and this would have a ripple effect across a variety of sectors, essentially anything that either touched or was touched by the manufacturing sector would see a boom, a very nice uptick as well. Markets, again, If Trump is elected, markets will respond in a very bullish, very positive manner. In my opinion, he is a businessman, and the markets love him. And then number 13, huge, keep the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Now, people love to talk about having Bitcoin as the world's reserve currency. I don't think this is plausible or feasible until Bitcoin gets to at least $1 million and is able to hold it steadily, even with drawbacks. So for the time being, keeping the US dollar as the world's reserve currency is huge. This is key, especially with the formation of BRICS, with the Brazil, Russia, India, China kind of trade formation to try to weaken the US dollar and take power away from the Western Hemisphere, and more specifically the US economy. If we can do this, markets, especially US markets, would boom, and Bitcoin would as well, especially since domestic financial institutions have recently started offering Bitcoin ETFs. Very bullish. I think this is the Bitcoin candidate right here. Markets would love him. All markets love him, and Bitcoin especially. Now that we've looked at Donald Trump and his economic policies and what that might mean for Bitcoin, let's pop over to the other side of the spectrum, to Kamala Harris, and look at her campaign website and her outline. Looking at the election candidate with the least amount of economic policy, we have Kamala Harris. She recently got a ton of controversy and hate in the media for having like little to no concrete economic policy. At the bare minimum, she would like sometimes say like a little bit of fluff that didn't really add up in interviews. And so she recently added this issues tab like 3 days ago to kind of counter that hate, that controversy in the media. And here we go. It says, build an opportunity economy and lower costs for families. Sounds very nice. Let's see if she knows what she's talking about. Scroll down a little bit. Under her plan, the tax rate on long-term capital gains for those earning $1 million a year or more will be 28%. Okay. Right after that, because when the government encourages investment, it leads to broad-based economic growth and creates jobs. She's saying this like she's telling me that, but I know that this does not come from this. Okay, when you're taxing a bunch of people, it does not encourage investment at all, and therefore it does not lead to broad-based economic growth and create jobs. If we look here under the Economics Observatory website, we see that taxes generally have a negative effect on economic growth, and that is because taxes also take money out of the economy, reducing private sector demand and lowering GDP. It is lowering consumerism. These people are not going to be spending money within the U.S. market because they're not going to be investing in the U.S. market because there's going to be so much tax on it. And so it is not encouraging investment in the slightest. And because it's not encouraging investment, it is not leading to broad-based economic growth and creating jobs, which is what we want to do. We do not want to be outsourcing power, outsourcing, workers to other work to other countries. We want to limit or stop outsourcing, like what is on Trump's website, to invest in ourselves and invest in our own economy so that our own economy can boom. I think she just makes a bunch of promises, smile and wave, make a bunch of like happy, appealing promises to those that are very emotionally powered. And so it appeals to these kind of emotional voters that are like, oh, that sounds really good. Let's vote for her. Let's get this done. But she has absolutely zero idea how to accomplish these promises without crippling and hurting our own economy. And so she's just kind of making empty promises that appeals to the people that are like, oh, it sounds good, so let's vote for her. And so she just smile and wave.
Don't you think we should tell them that the boat's out of gas?
Nah, just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
If she is voted into office, I think markets will take a downturn and Bitcoin will fall at least 5 to 10%. I know the majority of Bitcoiners that I know do not want her in office at all. And so because people in the space are very emotional too, if she is voted into office, Bitcoin will likely see a massive sell-off and will fall like 5 to 10% minimum, and that is just in the Bitcoin market alone. I think a large amount of markets will be crippled or scared if she is voted into office, and we'll see a downturn across the board. In summary, I think the markets and Bitcoin alike will react much better to Donald Trump being voted into office rather than Kamala. He has much better economic policy. He runs the country like a business, which in turn boosts the economy. Kamala has been VP for the past 4 years. Inflation has been on the rise. She doesn't really understand how to achieve her economic goals or what she pushes out to the people. Just kind of has this smile and wave ideology. So I think the markets will kind of have a negative effect if she is voted into office, and Bitcoin will likely drop 5 to 10% at least, especially immediately. The immediate emotional reaction will not be good if Kamala is voted into office, in my opinion. That is just my opinion. Let me know what y'all's is. Not financial advice. Do your own research. If you found that video entertaining, insightful, educational in the slightest, please like, follow, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.